You're listening to Montreal Now with Aaron Rand and Natasha Hall on CJAD 800.
That is James MENNIE over at the Montreal Gazette. And Jim, I thought we would start with this. I like the headline that you wrote, which is no news good news when it comes to Legault and his assault on Anglo universities. Now, think back. It's been a few weeks now. We've really heard, I was going to say nothing, very little from the government, other than I think Legault defending Pascal Derry one day, saying she is in negotiations. But then when you hear from the universities, they're saying, well, there's really not much going on. So I'm curious. We're going to play back, by the way, part of that interview with Fabrice Lebeau from McGill later in the show. It seems to me if you were waiting for someone to blink, the universities, or at least in McGill's case, they blinked first.
Well, yeah, but what I find intriguing, and the reason I put this on the list today was because my colleague, Andy Riga at the Gazette, has done a story. He spoke to McGill. He spoke to Concordia. Interestingly, bishops didn't have anything to say about it. They didn't want to comment for the story, but both McGill and Concordia are saying, listen, we have heard nothing from the government, nothing from Legault since we made our counter proposal on November 6th, and it's been radio silence. And even though certainly McGill has fired, I think, a pretty serious shot across the bounds of the government, saying if we have to, and we have to relocate outside of Quebec, what can we do? I would suspect that whereas I guess the usual take would be, well, Legault is playing a very deep game, and we'll have to wait. I don't think Francois Legault's got a clue of what to do. I think this is an idea that popped into his head in the delirium, shall we say, that he suffered after his humiliating defeat at the hands of the Parti Québécois last October in the by-election. He thought this was a good idea. It is an idea that will not stand up to any scrutiny whatsoever. The excuse about protecting the French language has been proved to be garbage. The excuse about better funding for French language universities has been proved to be garbage. So basically, this was another attempt for Francois Legault to take a swing at the Anglo community in general, at its institutions in particular. And even though those institutions have, as far as I'm concerned, reacted with far more professionalism and aplomb than the Premier has ever exhibited, here we are. It's the 12th of December, 2 weeks till Christmas. The National Assembly is not sitting, and he's not even talking about it. And I really suspect that there's a part of Francois Legault that's hoping this will go away, or maybe over the holidays, someone will have a brilliant idea to get him out of this mess that he and he alone placed himself in. But the clock is ticking. The universities are indeed feeling the pressure because of Francois Legault's dumb idea. And honestly, we may see some irrevocable changes coming to McGill or Concordia, basically because Premier Francois Legault was having a bad day and decided to take it out on Anglo universities, all of which does not bode well for the future. But once again, there is absolutely no light at the end of the tunnel on this one. There have been no leaks. There's been no suggestions from any place else that this idiot plan is going to go away. So it looks like it is going to happen. And if they stay true to form, they'll probably announce something on the first Friday of 2024 at 5 p.m. saying what the idea will be. But right now, I think, more than usual, Francois Legault doesn't have a clue.
So when you say, like, getting out of this mess, what would that consist of? How does he get out of this mess? Like, I love what you're saying about the, just try to just slide it through the media so that nobody really pays attention. But other than changing your mind, what gets him out of this mess?
Unless someone in his entourage can come up with a, how can I put it? Manufactured is such an ugly word, but a manufactured set of circumstances
yes.
that would say that, you know what, we may have not entirely gauged this situation properly. So what we're going to do, we're not going to take it off the table, but we're not going to put it on the table right now. Until further notice, we're going to keep status quo, and we'll see how things go down the road. In other words, let the next semester go through with the usual tuition protocols. And if you're lucky, and I've said this on the show repeatedly, no matter what the topic, in the 21st century, humanity does not have a very long memory. Maybe this will just drop off the map. And frankly, If he lays off the universities, they're not going to rock the boat if the status quo is maintained. But this is it. I've never seen a government behave this way. And in fact, as I said, Andy Riga's done a story for us at MontrealGazette.com. He actually uses ghost as a verb in his lead, that the government is ghosting Quebec's English language universities on their whole tuition thing, which is like any other jurisdiction. I'd say you're crazy, but it's just another day at the office here in Quebec.
As I said, coming up after 5:30, we'll have part of that interview. So, McGill, I think bending over backwards to try to give the government a way out, talking about tuition in different tiers. I mean, I thought that was a huge bone to throw them.
Well, absolutely. And I think they are making a big show of being extremely cooperative, of trying to show the public, and it's McGill, to a certain extent, the world, they have done everything they can to try and accommodate this. So when they do pull up stakes and move, and don't kid yourself, they may just turn around and say, listen, there's far more at stake here than a piece of real estate on Sherbrooke Street. There is this institution that's got to survive. This guy clearly has it out for us. His government has it out for us. The people who are supposed to be going to bat for us in the Legault cabinet, like Eric Girard, are missing in action. So you know what? We may end up having to do this. But all that said, I'm completely confident that McGill University will outlast any CAQ government in Quebec. I'm not entirely sure, though. It may end up doing it in Quebec.
All right. We have a minute left. You want to get to this story on Eric Duhaime?
Well, it's kind of funny because my hat's off to him. People say Eric Duhaime, he's this complete opportunist. He, when he didn't win any seats, he said out loud he was going to try and rumble CAQ MNAs or disaffected MNAs to come over to his side. And you know what? As far as I'm concerned, he's doing his job. That's what politics is. You seize any opportunity that presents itself, and sometimes you try to create them. And he did it. He gave an interview to Canadian Press, and he basically said, listen, if Poilievre wants to make some headway in Quebec, which is the only part of Canada where he's not making headway, well, we could help him out. The reason that the federal conservative brand is not resonating in Quebec is because we don't have any presence in the National Assembly. But, down the road, I think we could be a real ally. And he is thinking down the road, 2025 is when the next election is going to come up. There may be perhaps an exchange of resources. Certainly there are more resources on Poilievre's side than on Duhaime's. But as I say, my hat's off to him. If the guy sees the puck is loose, he just grabs it and goes down the ice with it. And listen, that's what you do when you're a party leader. And I just wish some of that energy might rub off on some other opposition leaders or interim leaders.
Oh, that's a good way to see it, because I was sort of just, generally speaking, I see it as kind of like it reeks of desperation and that he'll do absolutely anything to try and stay in the game and stay relevant. But I actually kind of like what you're saying there on the end. I'm like, you know what? You're right. The Liberals could absolutely and should be following that lead because, good God, they are still MIA.
Yeah, but how likely is someone like Pierre Poilievre likely to lean on someone like Eric Duhaime, Jim?
Well, they're tight. Eh? They're buds. So don't kid yourself.
Really?
Oh, absolutely. They go back. And the thing is, it wasn't for nothing that, Eric Duhaime, who was a former péquiste, decided to pick up the conservative banner in Quebec. I think he realized his trick now, he needs to expand his base. He needs to go beyond the angry sector of Quebec society and get the growing sector of Quebec society that is completely frustrated and disillusioned with the way politics are going in this province. It happened in 2018. Don't kid yourself. It may happen again in 2026.
James Mennie, the Montreal Gazette. Thank you, Jim.
Matt.